Hello and welcome to Prep Playbook Preview Edition. I'm Jim Rapier. Joining me on today's show is Mike Strom, and we'll be previewing some of the upcoming high school football games for Week 9. How's it going, Mike? You ready to take a look at, ahead to some of the games this week?
Yes, sir. It promises to be a very exciting weekend.
All right, well, let's get to it. Mike, let's start in District 11-3A, the matchup between John Curtis and De La Salle. What are some of the points to consider for this one?
Well, point number one to me would be finding out exactly how far De La Salle has come from 2013 to this season. I personally have been impressed with the Cavaliers' fine season to this point. They have certainly added a lot of talented personnel to their defense. The move of Cole Lewis from linebacker to tailback has paid nothing but dividends. And they have been competitive in virtually every one of their games and several lopsided victories. From the Curtis end, they have certainly answered the bell, but since they ended their non-district schedule, which was extremely tough, they haven't been exactly as overpowering as I might have expected. You know, they played St. Charles Catholic to one score, and one, of course. And then the Lusher game was a bit close for the first half. But I'm certainly not one to write off the Patriots. I've been asked a few times how good this Curtis team is, particularly compared to previous teams. I think they're plenty good. Now, they may not be the equivalent of the previous 2 years' teams, but they have answered the bell when it's been wrong. They've played an hellacious schedule and could easily be undefeated here if not for that loss to St. Augustine.
Well, that ought to be a good game as well. Turning to the North Shore, there's a big game in District 6-5A between Ponchatoula and St. Paul's. Mike, what are your thoughts for this one? Well,
might even be the game of the week across the metro area. St. Paul's has certainly been the standard bearer for North Shore Class 5A football since under the Kenny Sears era. You have Ponchatoula now finding its form under Coach Hank Tierney. Ponchatoula state ranked. I believe they're number 3 in the Class 5A state poll. This will be a game where we find out if maybe a bit of the changing of the guard is about to occur, or at least a changing of the guard for this season. And it should be just a whale of a football game. I don't know what else to say.
A real physical battle.
Oh, absolutely. And Ponchatoula is blessed with one of the area's best players, who's been talked about a lot, Christian Campbell, and is outstanding by any definition. But St. Paul's has been coming on of late under Coach Ken Sears' son, Kenny Sears Jr., who's had his moments and I think has got a promising future. I believe he's just a junior.
That is correct. And Mike, we're going to bounce toward the Catholic League, where Jesuit must bounce back from a tough loss to Rummel and now faces another undefeated team and Catholic League rival Brother Martin. Just another week in the Catholic League, right, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been interesting the way the schedule's playing out. That it's a bit of a round robin these last 3 weeks to determine the championship. This week it's Jesuit Martin. Jesuit's coming off that close loss to Rummel, 10-7. The last time Jesuit lost this season, again by a field goal to Ponchatoula in the opener, they ripped off 6 straight wins. If the Blue Jays could do that this time, they're looking at being a Division I state champion. I know Coach Mark Songi joked about that with me actually earlier this morning, that he'd take 6 straight wins. I like the Blue Jays from what I've seen them throughout the season. We talked earlier on our review show and how impressive I thought their defense was. That will certainly be a key this time around. Brother Martin is certainly formidable. If you go by rankings and such, you'd have to make the Crusaders a bit of a favorite. It's certainly going to come down to, I believe, each team's offense and their ability to score and score big. I just look for a lot of points to be scored in this game, and I can't wait to see it on Saturday.
And I'm sure with Brother Martin having to rally last week, they certainly will be attentive to detail this week.
Absolutely. Brother Martin is no shortage of skill players on offense, starting with their quarterback, Jake Brogy. Their two tailbacks are terrific, Jared West and Bruce Jordan Swilling. And they have a bit of an unheralded sophomore receiver named Jeremy Singleton, who has been outstanding and certainly a playmaker in his own right this season.
All right, last but certainly not least is another clash of the Titans when Landry Walker and Warren Easton square off. Mike, what should fans expect from this one?
Well, initially you would think a lot of offense, but this will be a classic, in my opinion, pairing of the irresistible force against the immovable object, and that would be Warren Easton's offense, led by two of the best players in this area, their quarterback, who's just fabulous, to say the least, Deshaun Capers-Smith, and their senior receiver, Tyron Johnson, who's rated as the #1 receiver nationally on several recruiting boards, but they also are deep at receiver. Defensively, Landry Walker has answered the call all season long. I really don't expect them to fall off this week, but they certainly have a formidable challenge on their hands in Warren Easton's offense. I guess key, in my opinion, would be if Landry Walker's offense can, kind of hold serve against Warren Easton's offense.
That should be a great game. Well, that's a great schedule for Week 9, and it seems there's just enough big games for just about anybody out there, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for providing some input, Mike.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Don't forget, you can follow all of Mike's work as well as all of our writers' work at highschoolsports.NOLA.com. Well, that's all for this edition of Prep Playbook Preview Edition. Remember to check out Prep Playbook Review Edition on Monday when we look back at some of the week's big games. For Mike Strom, I'm Jim Rapier. Thanks for clicking on us. We'll see you again next week.